Hello and welcome to this week's EMBN show. And on today's show, we'll be looking at the all-new Rocky Mountain Instinct, together with some more off-grid charging.
We're taking a look at night riding and asking that big question when it comes to lights. One light or two? All this coming up in this week's EMBN show.
Well, the big news this week is Rocky Mountain have come out with a new 140mm e-bike, the Instinct. Now this follows in the footsteps of the very successful Altitude Powerplay, which was 150mm rear, 160mm front. The new Instinct comes with 29-inch wheels, so we had a quick look and a spin on this bike recently. And here it is, the all-new Rocky Mountain Instinct. And you really have to take your hat off to this Canadian company for making a bike which is incredibly good looking and really follows that traditional mountain bike silhouette. Now, the good thing about the Rocky Mountain as well is that motor, which has been in development since 2010. They really have nailed it. It's especially good on those technical climbs. So, the Instinct is 140mm travel front and rear. Now, remember, there's already the Altitude Powerplay, which is 150 rear and 160 up front. So they're quite different bikes. So I'm going to talk about the geometry differences a little bit later on. But remember, at the heart of this system on the 70 version bike is the 632 watt hour battery. That's 48 volts. So yeah, let's have a look at some of the details. Now, there's a few features which are shared on both the Altitude and the Instinct Powerplays. No more so than that iWalk display. Now that's a sleek 3-button remote, which is a massive improvement over the bulky old unit. And in terms of the drive, they've actually got improved chain management on both Powerplays to keep them running sweetly all day. And remember, the suspension on this bike really highly tuned, and that matches with the adjustable geometry, which means you can build this bike to suit any kind of terrain. Now you might be asking yourself, why have Rocky Mountain made two bikes which are actually quite similar in terms of travel? The Altitude Powerplay is 150, 160 up front, and this bike is 140, 140. Well, they're actually quite different beasts, and no more so than in the geometry and especially the chainstay on this bike. Now, the Instinct has got a 441 to 443mm chainstay. Now that's partly due to the 29-inch wheels on this bike compared to the 27.5 on the Altitude, but what that does is makes it a far more capable climber on really technical terrain. And the second thing is the tyres. Now, the tyres on this bike are Maxxis Recon, so we always talk about the rear tyre on e-bikes being really chunky and really grippy, but this bike is actually made for more of those longer adventures where, because they've got a lower profile tyre, that's going to have definitely a positive impact on the battery life on this bike. Now, let's not forget the Altitude Powerplay, because that is a really good bike, and the chainstay on that bike is considerably shorter, 423 to 426, super short, which means the cornering and descending ability on the Altitude is absolutely amazing. So the Instinct starts at about £4,799, and the Altitude Powerplay £4,900, and both bikes weigh in. This bike weighs in at about 23.6 kilos, and the Altitude Powerplay about 24.1. So go and check out these bikes on the Rocky Mountain website. Now, many of us ride in the dark, whether it be in the winter or indeed on those long summer nights coming back from the pub. So the question is, do you actually use one light or two on your e-bike? Now, I've always been of the opinion that one really good quality on your handlebar is all that you need. However, my colleague Chris Smith here thinks otherwise.
Yeah, I think two lights is the best option when it comes to night riding for sure. Big bar mounted light for those like road sections and to be seen with on the way out to the ride. And when I get out in the woods, that's the time when I turn that main light on and can use it to its like max.
My argument, Chris, is that I drive a car down the road at 70, 80 mile an hour, and I've got a 1200 lumen lights on my car.
Right.
Surely riding a bicycle in the woods at probably about 20 mile an hour max on a single track narrow trail, all you need is a good quality light, and most good quality bike lights are about 2000 lumens. Yeah. Why on earth do you need something on your helmet? Because I think, when I'm riding, I like to follow that smooth arc of the light, whereas if you've got a separate helmet light, you're looking at the side. Do you actually look at the side of the track? I mean, when I'm driving my car down the road, I'm not looking at the side of different lines. I'm just following the line. That's it.
Yeah, because you've got a defined line. But I think when it comes to mountain biking, you've got all that different stuff that you need to preempt. Like when you come up to a steep chute, if you've just got a bar-mounted light on, as soon as you commit to going into that chute, you're not actually going to see until that bike actually angles down into it. There's a reason why like Mercedes and people like that have got these headlights that go around the corner just to preempt. I think even cornering and looking ahead down the trail, say for instance like on a climb, if you want to look up that bank, you're not going to see what's on it until you're actually going up with a bar-mounted light. You can look up it, look at a line. I
disagree. I think a really good quality light is as much as you need. And you're talking about Mercedes. Well, my wife's car's got those lights that come out on the side. I'm thinking, I'm going around a corner thinking, oh, there's a light on. Shall I have a look in the hedge now? I don't want to look in the hedge. But I want to look going down the road.
What about when you get a mechanical and you're trying to work on your bike and you've got that bar-mounted light? You're just going to balance it on your shoulder?
Exactly. I think that's the point when it is dead handy to have a helmet-mounted light to fix a puncture or to fix a mechanical or something like that. But for actually riding, I think one is all you need. One good quality light with a good wide beam.
Crashing around in the woods, you're riding up your track and you hear something crashing around in the woods beside you. Could be a deer, could be some scary guy out in the woods chasing you around. You're not too sure, but with your helmet-mounted light, you can look back, see what it is. I've been there, it's not a nice situation.
Guys, let us know your thoughts on one light or two. I think more importantly, Chris, is let's have a look what lights are on the market, first of all. One of my favourites is actually the Light and Motion Seca, which is 2,500 lumens. Comes in, they're not cheap, coming in at about £350, but the beam on that, it's a really kind of dinky little battery pack on it.
Yeah.
I think it's all that's needed.
Yeah, I think at the other end of the spectrum, there's the Exposure 6-pack, 4,750 lumens, but this thing's going to cost you, it's over £400, but it is the biggest, brightest light I've ever used.
4,700 lumens. That's like 3 to 4 times the power of a car.
It should be. It's like a beer can on the front of your handlebar.
It's actually smaller than a beer can, but it's really neat. It's all compact in one unit. Yeah. Now, this is another thing that you brought up a good point there, is that when I'm going down the road on my mountain bike with a 2,500 lumen light, all the cars are flashing me to turn the light down. Definitely. That's how powerful they are.
Yeah, I've run some of them on that flashing mode, which I find it's great for being seen, but it annoys the hell out of everyone. There's big flashing lights, just like someone's sat.
So the question is, Chris, if you had to choose between a headlight or a bar-mounted light, which would you have priority over?
Headlight.
A head torch over a bar-mounted one.
100%.
Whoa, controversial.
What would you go for?
Because when it's on your bar, that's going to follow you. You're turning your handlebars. It's going to follow the trail.
Ride where you look. Remember.
Honestly, this is going to cause some heated debate. Right, Chris, let's move on to headlights. There's lots of them on the market. I've come across this one from Infinity for about 40 quid. It's pretty good, actually.
Looks pretty cool, doesn't it?
Yeah, but Exposure also have a head-mounted light, the Diablo, right?
Yeah.
I've seen Doddy using that. It's a super neat bit of kit to have. Yeah. I guess the good thing with that is if you stop and you get off your bike, you go to the pub or something, it's dead easy to either take it off or just keep it on your helmet.
Yeah,
right?
One of the ones that I've seen is actually from Halfords, one of their retailers in the UK. They've got this 1,600 lumen light, which is super cheap. They had it knocked down to £35 at one point, but it's gone back up to, I think, 50 now. But this thing is mega impressive. 1,600 lumens. Right. Got a remote on the handlebars. You can start and stop it as well, change all those different power modes.
The other end of the spectrum is we met up with Andre Regini a few weeks back, and he got his own light off eBay for like his reversing light off a quad. It was £10, and he bought this cheap battery from China. It's a pretty good
bar mounted or helmet mount?
He's got one on his bar, and he's actually got one on his helmet as well.
Clever man.
But of course, this is the 21st century, and nowadays you can actually get e-bike specific lights. Now that Light and Motion Seca, which I mentioned earlier, now comes e-bike specific, and it can connect to either a Shimano or a Bosch battery pack. So I think that's a pretty nifty little system, Chris. You'd have to agree.
No more carrying those big batteries around.
Just plug into your battery pack. How about that?
Yeah, and I think obviously with the bikes as well, those integrated headlights, the high bike fly on with their new Skybeamer, that thing's 5,000 lumens.
5,000.
Yeah, built in, that runs off the battery, and also you've got the rear lights as well. So real nice, looking package. Yeah, I'm really excited to start using that as well.
I wonder if High Bike are going to be selling a helmet-mounted light to go with that. Don't think so.
And I did actually see quite a few manufacturers specking. Canada have got a built-in headlight on their bikes. Comes as stock on the high-end one as well. So definitely something that those manufacturers are looking at.
It's dead handy though, isn't it? Dead handy having those lights built in. So there you go. Let's know your thoughts on one light or two when you're on your nighttime riding. So it's time for Tech of the Week. Now, earlier in the week, the guys at GCN had these really interesting wheels from bird spokes. There was actually some rope spokes attached to a DT rim. Now, it's really interesting because I think when you're riding off-road, there's definitely some potential in this, because when you got a wheel that's too stiff, you get a lot of vibration through your body and the wheels are deflecting. But I can see a definite application of rope spokes for mountain biking in the future. And finally, Chris, I saw this Aerofly power meter, which was like an oversized valve cap which screws onto your inner tube. It gives you your power outputs, as well as loads of other information such as your tire pressure and your altitude, your speed, and your cadence. Really nifty bit of kit.
Just in a valve cap, eh?
Yeah.
Nice.
Okay, it's time for Bike Talk, or Talking Bikes as it's otherwise known.
Yeah, big news. I saw UK shredder Darryl Brown.
Oh,
Sharky B, yeah.
Sharky B.
He signed up for Intense Bikes. He won the Speed and Style back in Leger Crankworks, I think 2016, something like that, but he absolutely shreds.
New Intense e-bike ambassador then.
Definitely really excited to see what he can do on the e-bikes.
Yeah, what can he do?
Lots of things. Best suicides in the business.
I thought you did those.
Oh yeah, aside from mine. But he's got real good tricks. Yeah, he's a real good shredder. He won FES China as well, the big extreme sports festival out there. Yeah. So he's a real big name. Good to have him on board on the e-bikes.
Yeah. I see you've got Seth Stevens Snow written down there.
Seth Stevens showing us how to dismount in style. Does a front flip over the handlebars, straight into the snow. Really good way of getting off of his Levo. Fantic Carbon, Chris. Yeah, the Fantic XF1 as well. I just saw a new carbon version of that. So obviously he was using aluminium last year, but it's gone to a carbon as well, carbon option. So
Fantic, they do 3 different bikes. They do a 140, 160 and 180, right?
Yeah, all powered by that awesome Bros motor. Really nice bikes.
Yeah. And also I saw you actually had it on the show recently. They had a downhill version which was pre-production.
Yeah, it's like a prototype. I think they did like 50 units worldwide. So that was the XF1 with a boxer fork on it, like a downhill build as well. So a same chassis, but just with a more sort of downhill based influence.
Do you know what, Chris? Is yet more Italian enthusiasm for e-bikes spilling over
everywhere.
Right, it's time for Climb of the Week. We've got Chris's attention, possibly. This is in from Dion in Groot Vedersbosch in South Africa.
Yeah, she's here on a specialised turbo Levo comp. You're thinking this isn't exactly the slab or the rock, and you'd be right, of course. But before you make a final judgment, take the following into consideration. The lovely lady in the video is my wife, Marianne. I'm 60 years old and not allowed to mention her age, but you get the ballpark. She's riding any kind of bike only 5 years ago, and she started riding single track 6 months ago. The uphill was 30k single track trail with almost 800 metres of climbing. This specific uphill was 2k long.
Wow, beautiful backdrop there.
Yeah, look at that.
Beautiful backdrop. Really like it. Nice one, Dion and Marianne. Keep them spinning in South Africa. So this week's GetaTech, continuing the theme of Chris's fondness for sleeves, whether they be bike sleeves or other.
Yeah, we've got this one in from Andy Hollander, actually, from our social stuff, regarding battery covers. Rather than spending lots of money on an expensive battery cover, try a calf compression cover, one with Velcro straps, under a tenner from Amazon, and works a treat. Keeps that battery nice and warm out on those rides.
Good tip. Great tip, that, isn't it? Had some great comments in this week, specifically on the weatherproofing your ride and also the hardtail versus full suspension.
So I had this one in from Steve Leeson. ACF 50 all over the bike, as I do with my motorcycles. Other similar coatings are available. Cover and wipe off all electrical connections and plug sockets too. Really good way keeping that moisture out your e-bike by the sound of it. ACF 50.
Yeah, what about hardtail full suspension? Had some great stuff in from that.
Yeah, Daniel Charlie Fernandez. Hardtails are better at pump tracks for some jumps, pedaling efficiency, but for the rough stuff, having some suspension on the rear helps with grip, stability, and keeping your feet on the pedals. So put simply, they are both tools, and it depends on where you ride and what you want to do.
Yeah, well said. Muted Monkey, nobody that actually rides eMTB already would buy a top-of-the-range mega hardtail for over £4,000. There are many really capable full suspension bikes out there. Those that would be counting costs would be better starting off with a hardtail at about £1,500 1,800 to £2,000. I think we did mention that in the video. You're dead right, Muted Monkey, because then they would not lose so much money when they realise that they want a full suspension model.
Maybe.
Yeah, and I think we did talk about the fact that sort of Canyon e-bikes start at £3,600. You can get a Vita Summit for 3,200.
Yeah.
There's lots of really good full suspension e-bikes on the market.
And Mark Collingwood's come in was, in an ideal world, both bikes.
Absolutely.
If you could afford it. It's a lot of money, though, if you're talking
Absolutely.
2 bikes.
Ben Haskell, full suspension eMTB and a hardtail normal mountain bike works for me. And finally, David Walker, thanks again for the advice and clarification. Just one question remaining. Would I be correct in thinking that with a soft tail that some energy would be absorbed with rear suspension? And if correct, that this would reduce the range of the battery?
Good question. I think it's something we should do a video on, actually. It's just comparing this hardtail to the equivalent full suspension on range and things like that.
To answer the question is, when you're riding on really rough ground, you try to maintain traction with the ground. And if your back wheel is bouncing, that's going to be... your wheels are going to be spinning and using lots of battery power. But at the same time, I think if the ground is really smooth, I think there is a slight efficiency on a hardtail.
I think I definitely feel a bit more efficient and a bit more sort of nicer cadence. I think maybe not so much sort of losing that little bit of power maybe to the back wheel.
So when you go mountain biking and you ride in rough ground and that back wheel is bouncing, then you're definitely going to be losing energy on the hardtail. It is time for Where in the World?
And we're heading to Garden Route in South Africa.
South Africa? Yeah.
Harkerville Red Route.
Ooh,
got this one in from Greg on a Specialized 2018 Levo comp. Decided to hit one of my best 26k routes with a buddy of mine. He is much faster than me, but having an e-bike, I can invite him and join in on various cool rides. That's a good thing about e-bikes. We've talked about that before. If you're a lesser fit rider, you can obviously join your fit mates on their normal pedal bikes and go along for that ride. Looks like he's having a hell of a ride. Check that out. So coming up this week on the show, we've got loads of cool videos, but first up on Friday, we've got trail etiquette, how you should behave out on those trails on your e-bikes.
Yeah, that's a video that myself and the Don did down in Garda earlier in the year.
Nice.
And then on Sunday, there's a video coming out, The Trial, whereby me and Chris go head-to-head on some natural trial sections, including rocks, logs, steep banks. Really interesting one. You should not be missing that one on Sunday. Okay, straight into the vault, and we've got a 2018 Transia in the Fakawi Woods in Tean Valley, Devon. Also got a comedian riding it by the sounds of it. Chris.
Yeah, getting out and about in a new area, being guided by a pal. 3 friends with 188 years between us.
250 mile loop. That's very, very nice.
25 mile route.
I like that.
You like that?
Like
so what are you thinking?
Well, we've been very, very... I think it's nice.
Nice? Okay.
Ooh.
Moving on.
Moving on to Penarth.
Yeah.
Cardiff.
James, high bike all mountain 8.0. Coastal path from Sully Woods towards Penarth. Blake taking a blast on a cold, clear day from Barry Island.
It is nice though. Look at those rocks down there.
Path, spoons and Penarth for
didn't
breakfast.
Martin Ashton ride trials down that way, didn't he?
Did he? I thought it was, Porthcawl, wasn't it? Or something?
Yeah,
but
that's nice, isn't it?
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice.
Right, moving on. Callum here with a Specialized Turbo Levo FSR.
Dundee.
Baloo near Dundee.
Wow.
Hi guys, away on a lovely Sunday morning on my bike with my mate who was on this lovely Pipe Dream hardtail. Plenty of trails hit and a couple of falls to make it a proper day out. Hope you all have a great Christmas.
Oh, it's very kind. Merry Christmas to you. And on that festive theme, I think we should give you It's Super Nice.
Got this one in from Paul on his Trek Powerfly 9LT.
Nantararian.
Nantararian.
That's nice.
Loving the e-bike life.
Yeah, who doesn't? Keep going.
Nice.
Ooh, I like that shot. Where's that? Another giant fully in Stewart Gorge Recreation Park, South Australia. Day off, borrowed bike from Giant. Had the best 25Ks of my life.
That's good. I can't agree more. And I think that's just a nice...
Don't look at me.
We have this one in from Richard, Cube Stereo Action Team. Gap Road, Brecon Beacons.
Isn't that Llangorth Lake in the background?
Langorth Loop from Brecon.
Nice. It's a beautiful bike, isn't it? Absolutely
nice. Like
beautiful bike. Huh?
Do look good, don't
Yeah.
What are you thinking, Steve?
What's up to you, Chris?
Nice.
Yeah. Oh, look at the puppy.
It's always good to have a puppy
Look
in
at
there.
the puppy.
This is from Patrick with his 2019 Rocky Mountain Power Play. Seen a lot of those about now, actually.
Yeah, yeah. Where is it though? St. John.
Rockwood Park, yeah, St. John in Canada. Me and my blue heeler, Obi.
Oh, hello, Obi.
Checking
Merry
out,
Christmas, Obi.
Checking out a view overlooking St. John on a trail located in the biggest inner city park in Canada, Rockwood Park. First day out on his 2019 Power Play.
I'm feeling that shot. I'm feeling it.
I'm going to give that a super nice. This one here, so a few mods on this from Joey, High Bike Enduro Pro 180 from Scotland, dodging showers 1/3 of the way up. Looks like it's done a few mods on that bike as well. Did they come stock with a coil?
I don't know if they do they?
Yeah, it looks like it's got a coil on there.
Yeah, nice.
Looking good as well.
Very
Like
nice.
in the yellow.
Yeah.
Nice or super nice, Steve? You can call this one.
Nice. Very
Nice.
nice, yeah.
This one is from Jose.
Jose or Jose?
Jose.
Slovenia.
Yeah, Scott Genius e-bike 720.
Hometown of Ransko. Description. Forest Hill December ride. Mountain Lodge Krita.
I'd like to see that in landscape, wouldn't you? Portrait didn't quite do it for me.
Yeah.
It's nice, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, this looks good. Trevor Lapierre Overvolt XC500 with DVO 140mm forks.
Bunnyville Trails Brisbane. Or was that or Bunnyaville? Bunyaville. Anyway, it's in Brisbane, Australia, and it's a super nice.
You got this one in. Oh, that's nice as well. From Alan, High Bike Esturo Full 7 LT 4.0, Mansfield in Nottingham.
I'm feeling that. Do you know Mansfield is my middle name?
Is it?
Yeah.
Steve
I'm giving that.
Jones.
Can definitely give that a super nice.
Nice.
Boom! Oh,
Got this one in
look
from
at that.
Heiko Cubes Hybrid Reaction 500 SL, Black Forest in Germany. My e-bike is a great enhancement of sports, e-mobility and being outdoors even in December 2018. Exploring new trails.
The Black Forest.
Yeah. Nice, I think.
Yeah, very nice.
Wow. This
Can't
is
beat a good bit of black bush Christmas
is
time,
it.
can you?
No, loving it. This one's in from Tommy Tripod. Fantic Integra 180. Out trying the 180 version of this bike. It rides so well and looks the mutts nuts.
So he's on a Minth in Cumcarn.
Yeah, it looks good. Says he's exploring some of the mountain, getting in some much needed Tommy time.
What?
Much needed Tommy time.
Do you know what Tommy time is?
God knows. Maybe Tommy does. But with like than that, would you give him that? Super nice?
Yeah.
Got to end it on a super nice. Nice work, Tommy. Yeah, keep sending those bikes into the EMBN Bike Vault using the uploader server's details of how to get your bike in the Bike Vault are down below. Upload.embn.com. Get those bikes coming in for a nice or a super nice.
It's nice.
It's nice.
It's nice. And that's it from the EMBN show. Don't forget to check out the video Chris did this week on winter hacks. It's a belter. We've also got hardtail versus full suspension, so please let us know your comments on those videos.
Yeah, don't forget, if you've enjoyed the show today, give us a thumbs up. If you've got any questions you want to ask us, #AskEMBN. Drop them in the comments below and we'll feature them on our Tuesday show. We'll get back to you with all your questions answered. Don't forget to subscribe to EMBN as well for loads of content we got coming out through the week. And we'll see you
But
next
before
week.
that, don't forget to tune in to the Christmas show next week.